Hello, and welcome to this first lecture of the new section on unconventional case interviews and this course on guesstimates and case interview excellence. So, in this section, we will help you develop excellence in solving even unconventional cases so that you can crack your consulting interviews. And what we're going to look at in this particular lecture is what are the frameworks, if any, that you can apply for unconventional cases? Because unconventional cases, by definition, are different. There's no one particular framework that you can apply, but we will still try and figure that out. So, what are the framework for, if there is a framework for unconventional cases, what is that? And first, before that, let's look at what are the unconventional cases. So, unconventional cases, we have four examples that we will take you through to solve, to illustrate the methodology that we will outline in a couple of slides now. And the first is illustration of a unconventional cases. Your client is X, anybody for that matter. They have been approached by HPO to bid for the 8th session of GOT. They want you to evaluate the opportunity and determine the correct bidding strategy. So you need to bid correctly. What's your bidding strategy? That's what you need to figure out. Now the second one is even more unconventional. A senior associate of BCG at BCG is bored by his lifestyle, bored of his lifestyle. You have been approached to find out the possible solutions to reduce his boredom. So very, very unconventional, isn't it? The third one, going in the clockwise direction, is your client is a packaging manufacturer who has been facing a higher completion time for the delivery of a job. What would you do? What solutions do you recommend? The last one that we will take is your client is a CEO of Indian Airlines company, one of the Indian Airlines company. He has approached you as a consultant to as a top-notch firm to help him make a go green strategy. How would you go about it? So aren't these unconventional? Right. So let's take a look at the possible framework. So as we said, there's no standard one particular specific framework that you can apply. While we are saying that, we will try and give you a very generalized framework as we go along. So there are general guidelines as we have been mentioning that. And first is never try to force fit a framework. Don't go with a presumed understanding of a framework and try and fit it. Understand the problem really, really well. Mark the word really, really. You need to understand the problem really well. Ask the interviewer questions if you are familiar with the particular industry and do not hesitate at all. If the industry is familiar, comparison with companies that you know well would provide some help very, very clearly. Be as comprehensive as possible, and hence bucketing the problem into different sections might help. You can look at the case through two lenses, qualitative and quantitative, as a mathematical problem, and that helps many times. Use couple of possible frameworks like 3CP, MECE, product approach. So those are some possible frameworks and see what is the right framework. Uh, in certain issues where the scope of problem very, very broad, like you will be given very broad problems, you may ask the interviewer to focus on a particular aspect to structure the thoughts in that direction. So try and narrow down as much as possible. Obviously, don't force the recruiter. When scoping the problem, an interviewer can consider if there are competitors in the same industry and ask him whether we can get some information and the strategies that they follow. So these are some general guidelines. And as a result of that, you can draw an overall approach. So understand the situation fully, really, really well. Then you need to be on your own and figure out a right approach. What is the right approach that I should do? Is it MEC? Is it 3C? Or is it something else? Align the approach with the interviewer because that's where you would get some brownie points. Seek information, make some assumptions as we have talked about in few earlier approaches. Align with the interviewers on the intermediate outputs and reach final conclusions and summarize. Remember to summarize at the end. So this would be an overall approach. So how to figure out a right approach? Is there a generalized, broadest possible approach? There is one, and this comes from the processes of critical thinking, rational thinking processes, and there's one great set of tools that Kepner and Trego provide for critical thinking, for rational thinking. That includes four broad processes: situation appraisal, when you appraise the current situation, figure out what are the priorities, and what type of problem it is. Is it a analysis problem? Is it a decision analysis, or is it a potential problem analysis? So that's one possible framework that you can use. And the second one is a problem analysis situation in which you figure out, as we will talk about, and similarly, there is a decision analysis and there is a potential problem. So these are three processes that you can use. That let's take a look at each of these. So you will use problem analysis when you have a negative deviation from a should be state. You want to achieve something and you're not achieving, you are on the negative side of that. And you don't know the root cause of the deviation. And you don't have all the information to find the root cause at this point of time in the beginning. And you want to move from observing the effects of the problem to understanding the root cause of that, so that you can take an appropriate action to either eliminate the problem or lessen the effect, the worst case. At least the effect should be minimized or lessened. So that's where you would use a problem analysis methodology. Where would you use decision analysis? Decision analysis you will use when you have a decision to make to attain a certain objectives or goal. You have a certain goal and you need to decide what course of action should you follow. When you have objectives, you know objectives, so you need to know objectives. You don't know objective, you can't take a decision. When you can generate alternatives, to achieve a particular goal, so you have a decision to make and you can generate alternatives and you want to decide the best possible course of action that can achieve that goal. So that's where you use. So in this case, you see there's no root cause involved. You know what you want to achieve, and you have couple of alternatives. You want to generate more alternative, and you want to make the best decision that will achieve that goal that you have in mind. The last one is a potential problem analysis, in which you are about to take an action, and basically you want to look into future and say what kind of problems can it cause, and what are the things that can go wrong, which is called potential problems, and what can I do at this point of time to either prevent these problems from happening or mitigate as then when they happen. So it basically takes you into the future and make sure that whatever actions you are taking are do not create more problems. So it's a wonderful three-step process of potential problem, decision analysis, and if you can start becoming good at each of these, the number of problems start solving. How? You have a problem, so you find the root cause, so your problem should not occur. You take the right decision, and then you check whether what kind of problems can it cause, and then you look at how to prevent problems in the life. You start getting on top of the life. So this is how you can, this couple of methodologies of Kepner-Trego you can apply for unconventional cases. So what do we do in the next module? So we start with our first unconventional case in which the client is X and they've been approached by HBO to bid for the 8th season of GOT. They want you to help on evaluating the opportunity and determine a current bidding strategy. So that's what we will look at in the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture of the unconventional case interviews. I hope you're beginning to learn again something new, beginning to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture.